What happened to the product red color on iPhones? Apple hasn't officially discontinued the color, yet the last major red model was released years ago. So, what happened? Was it a lack of demand, a shift in Apple's design philosophy, or something more complicated? Today we're going to be breaking down why Apple seems to have quietly moved away from red iPhones, the possible reasons behind it, and whether we'll ever see another one again. Apple's been working with Red for a long time now, way before the first Red iPhone even existed. The partnership started in 2006, back when Apple was mainly releasing special Red versions of iPods. The whole idea was simple. Every time you bought a product Red device, a portion of the proceeds would go towards fighting HIV and AIDS through the Global Fund. It was a way to let consumers buy something stylish while also contributing to a good cause. But for some reason, Apple didn't bring the red color back to the iPhone until way later. It wasn't until 2017, more than a decade after their first red iPod, that we finally got the first official product red iPhone, the iPhone 7. And even then, it was kind of a surprise drop. Apple didn't launch it alongside the rest of the iPhone 7 lineup in the fall. It came out in the spring of 2017, as a mid-cycle refresh. But despite the weird timing, people loved it. It was something completely different from what Apple had done before. And from there, product red iPhones became a regular thing for many years. The iPhone 8, XR, 11 all had the red option, and it seemed like Apple was making it a permanent part of their lineup. But after the iPhone 14, something changed. While Apple still has a dedicated red section in their online store where they sell red accessories, they haven't made any new products in quite some time. So what exactly happened? Why did Apple stop making red iPhones after a solid run of releases? Well, there's no official reason, but there's a few key factors that likely played a role. But before we get into the reasons why, I first want to mention the Sharge SharGeek 170, a seriously impressive power bank from today's sponsor. If you're like me and constantly juggling multiple devices, this thing's a lifesaver. It's got a sleek, transparent prism design that looks incredible, but more importantly, it delivers when it comes to power. It can fast charge 3 devices at once with 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB-A port, so you can keep your laptop, phone, and gaming console powered all at the same time. With the 170 watt output, it charges high-power devices like the MacBook Pro and Steam Deck without breaking a sweat. Even better, it recharges itself from 0 to 50% in just 20 minutes with the 140 watt two-way charging, so you're never stuck waiting. The 24,000 mAh battery means all-day power wherever you go, whether you're traveling, working, or gaming. It also comes with a smart display that shows charging performance, is airline safe, water resistant, and has a low current mode for devices like earbuds and smartwatches. So if you're after a power bank that's as powerful as it is stylish, click the link in the description and check out the Sharge SharGeek 170, and thanks to Sharge for sponsoring this video. But getting back to the topic on hand, if you've been paying attention to Apple's color choices in recent years, you've probably noticed a trend, especially on the Pro models. Apple's been moving away from bright flashy colors in favor of more neutral premium tones. Silver, graphite, titanium, deep purple, these are all colors designed to look sleek, professional, and high-end. And a bold, vibrant red that doesn't exactly fit the aesthetics Apple is going for with their top-tier iPhones. This is probably the biggest reason why we haven't seen a product red iPhone Pro. It just doesn't match the ultra-premium image Apple wants to maintain for its high-end devices. Apple's marketing is all about making the Pro models feel sleek, expensive, and refined, and a bright red color just doesn't align with that. Even on non-Pro iPhones, Apple seems to be experimenting with more muted tones. Just look at the iPhone 15, the first base iPhone series to not include the color. Most of the colors, including blue and pink, are much softer and pastel-like compared to previous generations. So if Apple is moving towards a more subtle and sophisticated color palette, it makes sense that they wouldn't want to bring back a bold, eye-catching red, at least not anytime soon. Another big reason why we might not be seeing product red iPhones anymore comes down to something that isn't talked about as much: manufacturing challenges. Making iPhones in different colors isn't just as simple as painting them red. Apple has a very specific process for how they apply colors to their devices, and some colors are just harder to get right than others. This is especially true with the materials Apple is using right now. The last time we saw a product red iPhone was when Apple was still using aluminum and standard glass on the non-Pro models. But in recent years, Apple's been introducing new materials and finishes, which can make certain colors more difficult to produce. Take the iPhone 15 Pro for example. Apple switched from stainless steel to titanium, which not only changed the feel of the phone, but also limited what colors they could achieve. That's why we didn't get the new gold iPhone 15 Pro right away, because Apple's new brushed titanium finish makes it harder to pull off certain colors. And if gold is a challenge, you can bet that a bright saturated red would be even trickier to get right. Even on the regular iPhone models, Apple has been tweaking its color process. The iPhone 15 lineup uses a color-infused glass back, which gives the colors a more muted pastel-like color compared to older models. This might explain why Apple has been moving towards softer colors rather than the bold, solid red we used to see with product red iPhones. If Apple couldn't get the right shade of red using this new process, they might have just decided to skip it altogether. But moving on, Apple's marketing has always been about innovation and keeping things fresh, and that might be another reason why we haven't seen a new product red iPhone in a while. Apple may just want to highlight other colors instead. Every year, Apple introduces at least one new color to keep the lineup feeling fresh, whether it's deep purple on the iPhone 14 Pro, Sierra Blue on the 13 Pro, or new teal color on the iPhone 16, Apple knows that exclusive colors help sell phones, and if they keep releasing a red iPhone every year, it loses a sense of excitement. And then there's the Pro models. If Apple really wanted to bring back red, they might want to make it available on their most premium devices. But as we talked about earlier, the Pro models mostly stick to neutral tones because Apple wants to make them look sleek and high-end. A bright red iPhone Pro would definitely stand out, but it might not fit the image Apple wants to set for their most expensive devices. There's also another very possible reason why we haven't seen a new product red iPhone. Apple's partnership with Red might not be as strong as it once was. While Apple still has a dedicated red section on their website and continues to sell red accessories, it's possible that their focus on the initiative has shifted or that their agreement with Red has changed behind the scenes. One thing to keep in mind is that every product Red device is tied directly to a charity initiative. A portion of every sale goes to the global fund to fight HIV and AIDS, and a big part of Apple's marketing for these devices was about raising awareness for the cause. If Apple were to stop working with Red or move away from actively promoting this initiative, it would be in bad faith for them to release a bright red iPhone that wasn't tied to the charity. Apple could technically release a red-colored iPhone in a different name, but it would be a risky move. The product red branding gave Apple an easy way to justify the color choice, and consumers associated it with supporting a good cause. If Apple were to suddenly introduce a generic red iPhone that wasn't part of the Red initiative, people would definitely call them out for it. It would look like Apple was using the popularity of Red without actually donating to the cause, something that would be pretty bad for PR. That might explain why Apple just stopped making red iPhones altogether instead of just renaming them. Rather than risk backlash for releasing a non-charity iPhone, they might have just decided that it wasn't worth it. After all, they've already shifted their focus towards other colors, and if this partnership with Red isn't as much of a priority anymore, it makes sense that they wouldn't keep forcing red iPhones into the lineup. Of course, we don't have any official confirmation that Apple and Red have ended their partnership, but the lack of a new red iPhone definitely makes it feel like something changed. Whether that means Apple is slowly stepping away from Red, or just choosing to focus on other products, remains to be seen. But if the partnership really is winding down, that could explain why we haven't seen a new product red iPhone in years. But could product red iPhones make a comeback? Well, it's possible. Apple has a habit of bringing back certain colors when people least expect it. Just look at purple. It took them until the iPhone 11 to finally introduce a purple iPhone, and they randomly dropped the purple iPhone 12 in the middle of spring. So Apple could easily decide to reintroduce product red in the future, maybe as a spring refresh like they did with purple. But what do you think? Will product red ever make a return? And if it did, would you buy one?